The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
We are now about to witness the truth.
it's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Thursday, May 5th, 2016. What is going on YouTube? Shout out to everyone on Spreaker. Follow me
The
on Twitter.
Benjamin Dixon Show is only
on.
possible with listener support.
There it is.
Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register.
Yeah. We're batting at about 90% tonight, but that's okay. Okay, so what's up, Spreaker? Follow me on Twitter at the BPD Show. If you want to join the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, my phone lines are back up. 857-600-0518. You can talk to me tonight. Let me fix that camera right there. You can talk to me tonight. We can have a conversation about what's happening in the news. And just glad to be broadcasting from Boston. Let's talk about... See, when I told you, remember when I told you that if Donald Trump became president, it would be good for liberal commentators such as myself, because there is an endless amount of stuff that we could talk about with regard to Donald Trump. There's an endless supply of material. But before I get to the most ridiculous things about Trump today, let me talk about some things that I think, again, the Democratic Party simply is missing. They are missing the reality that Hillary Clinton is not performing as well against Donald Trump as you would expect someone to perform against a candidate like Donald Trump. According to the NBC Morris poll, Wall Street Journal Morris poll, and CNN.org poll, Donald Trump, if the election was held today, Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton would win by 13 points, which is good. It is good. It's better. She's doing better now than she was against Donald Trump. At one time, she was in the margin of error. But the troubling things about it is when you dig underneath the numbers for Hillary Clinton, right? So Donald Trump has a disapproval. I'm sorry. Let's look at it this one first. So people who are voting for Donald Trump in opposition of Hillary Clinton, that's 57%. So 57% of people who are opposing Hillary Clinton and who are voting for Donald Trump because they oppose Hillary Clinton is 57%. Now, that same exact metric for Donald Trump, those who are voting for Clinton in opposition to Donald Trump is 51%. So there are more people supporting Donald Trump in opposition to Hillary Clinton than there are people supporting Hillary Clinton in opposition to Donald Trump. And I tweeted this out this morning because I wanted people to be sure about something, that you have to realize that even though there are some defectors from the Republican Party, there are more people who have invested so much against Hillary Clinton. Their entire lives have been dedicated in opposition and hatred of the Clintons in general. I don't count on getting a large number of Republicans to defect over in favor of Hillary Clinton. And that's what this first data point is saying. But more importantly, I think it has to be said that in this competition, we are still in a primary. Bernie Sanders won Indiana. Looks like he's going to win West Virginia. It's going to be a good fight in California. We're in a primary now where the situation is we as Democrats and left-leaning people and progressives and liberals, whatever, are independent and you're liberal and you're progressive, whatever you identify as, we on the left have the opportunity to make a decision with the full knowledge that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. That's what we're able to do at this point. And since Donald Trump has weakened the Republican Party so much, it is mind-boggling to me that instead of running headlong into using this opportunity to advance progressivism, to use this opportunity to really get the upper hand, to take advantage of the fact that Donald Trump has wounded the Republican Party. Instead of doing that, taking advantage of it and getting progressive policies, getting progressive politicians elected across the country, instead of doing that, we are opting for a candidate that is conservative enough to attract Republican defectors. And that's what this metric is measuring. So 51% of people who are supporting Hillary Clinton in opposition to Donald Trump, that number includes Republican defectors. And so people are counting on these Republicans coming over, but still not even enough Republicans are coming over. There are more people who are opposing Hillary Clinton and supporting Donald Trump. But they're counting their numbers. I guess they're putting their strategy together or whatever they're doing. And they're bragging now about the number of Republicans who are not supporting Donald Trump that are potentially going to support Hillary Clinton. And here we are with a wounded Republican Party, a great opportunity to move progressivism forward. And what do? We opt to go with the candidate that's more conservative, are so conservative that that the GOP defectors feel comfortable enough supporting her. That's what we do. And that's problematic because here is this opportunity and we're sleeping on it. I saw somebody tweet me earlier, and they said that Democrats have for a long time been able to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory, and this is an example. So here we are. Let me reiterate that not for dramatic effect, but for emphasis. Here we are with the golden opportunity to eviscerate conservatism, to eviscerate the Republican Party. And instead of running headlong into progressive ideas and policies that we have been touting and ostensibly touting, right? At least these are the things they said they wanted. Instead of going after these things, the Democratic Party and their front-running candidate and her surrogates and her minions are trying to convince progressives that we're not really progressive. Here, Hillary Clinton is really progressive, which is really moderate right. We have an open field where we can be as progressive as we want to, but instead we opt for the center moderate right, Hillary Clinton. Do you see the wasted opportunity? So, and that's what I saw when I read these poll results from NBC Wall Street Journal Morris poll. 51% of people voting for Clinton are doing so in opposition to Trump, but there's 57% of the people supporting Donald Trump are doing so in opposition to Hillary Clinton. Here's another shade that we discussed about last night, that both of them, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, both have an unapproval rating of over 50%. Hillary Clinton, 56% negative ratings. Negative approval ratings or unapproval ratings, whichever way you want to swing it, right? And here we are with Trump, with 65% unapproved. So there's only 10 percentage points separating Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Now, let's not be foolish. That's enough to win. Right? That's enough for her to slide by. Donald Trump is repugnant. And enough people understand that what Donald Trump wants to do is something that we should not allow. In my opinion, I don't know what you think, but I think Donald Trump is dangerous. I think Donald Trump is someone who should never get in the White House. And I think we are running the weakest candidate, or we are promoting the weakest candidate against Donald Trump. This should be an open and shut case, but with Hillary Clinton with 56 negative approval ratings or unapproval ratings, 56% of people don't approve of Hillary Clinton. We are running the weakest candidate against her. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders has an approval rating of 61%. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders has the very things that Donald Trump doesn't have, and Hillary Clinton for that matter. Bernie Sanders has the moral integrity, the moral high ground, the reputation, the people, the trustworthiness, but that's not the one the Democratic Party wants to run to. Alas, you can't control that. All right. That's just one story. Let me get you in the conversation. 857. I'm excited about having my phone lines open. We'll probably run a little late tonight. I have an interview with George Garza. I'm so horrible with names. George Garza from the Left Forum. He's going to call in. He's going to Skype in with me later, and we're going to discuss the Left Forum that's coming up in New York City on the weekend of May 20th. 21st and 22nd. I'll be in an interview. I'll be on a panel with Sam Cedar, David Packman, and there's some other guests that will be there. We'll be there discussing media from the left perspective. And so George Garza will be joining me later on. So, but right now, I want to get you in on the conversation. 857-600-0518. Give me a call. Let me know what you think. Do you think we're running the wrong candidate? Of course you think that, but tell me why. Not only do you think, but why do you feel we're running the weakest candidate against Donald Trump when we could have open season? Folks, this could be an open season of opportunity for progressive politics and progressive policies, but instead we're going with this. All right, let's give this a try. We're testing this out for the first time. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, it's Bryce.
Bryce, how's it going, my friend? Glad to have you as my first caller in the new setup. How's it going?
Doing good. Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why we're going with the wrong candidate is because, you know, they're so scared of Bernie because they know that Bernie is going to bring, you know, the progressive change. Mm-hmm. And so Hillary will be, of course, Hillary be status quo. Hillary will keep going on a float. If another crash happens, they'll pull out of it, go on another float, just, you know, kind of go through that way. And then, you know, Trump, we know what Trump is going to do. We know what Trump is about. Mm-hmm. And Hillary, she's just going to do, Hillary won't do what Trump would do, of course, but she'll just be the status quo. But interesting thought, fact, on TYT, Jimmy Dore was saying that, and Jake was saying that if Bernie Sanders gets to a certain point, or like he's going to come back and win, especially if he wins California, they're going to try to screw him over anyway at a contested convention, and they're going to try to push Joe Biden to get the nomination. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. Everybody listening, like, what?
Yeah,
yeah. They might try to do that because they're scared of Bernie, but we'll see what happens.
Hey, man, thanks for the call. 857-600-0518. Anyone else wants to join the conversation? I did hear that report. I did get that from Cenk Uygur. You know what? It's because two things, right? This, I think I may drop the political commentary. I think I may drop the political commentary in the general election so that I can come from a political analyst, political science perspective. Because there are some very strange and weird and fascinating intersections that are occurring in this election, particularly where it comes down to the similarities that people try to make between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. right? There's been a lot of time invested, and it's going to tie into what you were talking about, Bryce, but there's been a lot of time invested in trying to convince everyone that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are the same type of candidate. Both of them are appealing to white voters, and both of them have narrow coalitions, and neither one of them appeal to black people and minorities and all this rhetoric. So much time and ink has been spilt on this. The amazing thing to me is, in actuality, Hillary Clinton. It's Hillary Clinton that is more like Donald Trump. Check it out. This is why I believe this, because Hillary Clinton is not just the front runner, right? That's the low hanging fruit. That's obvious. But Hillary Clinton is the person that is sparking opposition so great that people from her own party are willing to defect in order to not allow her the White House. There's the never Trump contingency, and there's the never Hillary contingency. People in the Republican Party are so adamant, they are so against Donald Trump, that they would rather turn coat and support Hillary Clinton. Likewise, you have Hillary Clinton has that same effect on people in her party. And just that, amongst a lot of other things, there's similarities between Hillary Clinton and matter of fact, Hillary Clinton to me is the Donald Trump of they are the two most unpopular front runners in a generation. Right? They both have problems with trustworthiness. They both have issues with not being able to apologize. They both have issues with confrontations with people. They both have these character flaws that align them, but they also have the same effect on their people, on people inside of their parties. People would rather see their dreaded mortal enemies from the opposition get in power than Hillary Clinton. They would rather see the dreaded mortal enemies of Republicans get in power than to allow Donald Trump. So from a negative perspective, right, from looking at it through the effects that are negative, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have far more in common than Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. And the reason this thought was stimulated was because Bryce was saying how the establishment is trying to protect Hillary Clinton. Well, that's where now you see that's where they have some other things in common. Actually, let me leave that second part off. I want to leave that second part off, but I just want to leave it right there. From the negative lens, looking at this, at who's having a negative effect on their party, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are birds of a feather. Now, if you talk about who's mobilizing a quote unquote revolution, who is the outsider, who is someone who is not picked by the establishment, then sure, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump have some things in common. But I would rather have something like a revolution or kicking out the establishment. I would rather have that in common than to have in common that I am so repugnant to my potential base that they would rather turn coat and support their mortal enemies than to ever have me elected into office and to share the negative approval ratings with them. All right, let's take this caller. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question? Caller, this is you. You're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question? Yep, this is you. What's going on?
Hi, my name's David. I'm calling first to thank you for all the effort you put into this. You could probably be making more money doing other things, but what your opinions are amazing, and you know, I'm in my late 60s. I went to Woodstock. I've been through the whole gamut of all these past years, and I think that what you're saying about Trump and Hillary is right. They're both egotists that want they want to have power, and they're people who are motivated by self-interest but there's also similarity between Trump and Bernie in the populist area, but it's only the populist area, the anger, and both Trump and Bernie say the same things, about 10 or 20% to appeal to the populist vote. But Trump is a wannabe politician who didn't want to go through the process of taking a shortcut to, buy his way into, his self-aggrandizement and being, So I think it's a mess. But one question I have is for you: is you and all the other internet news people, is there any effort being made to raise funds to maybe buy time on live TV channels to, maybe what we could call like a free network or a free news network that could be on a major channel, so that because we're missing my age group, the people in the 30s and under. I think it's amazing, and I know they're going to change the world. But it's really sad that people from 30 to 70 are not getting the message simply because of this CNN and everybody else, giving free airtime to Trump and the powers that be. And you guys, I mean, if you and the Turks and all the other people, the 4 or 5 other really, really top, internet progressive news people were on TV, we would not have this problem.
Yeah.
We would already, because people, when I talk to people in my, the VA, just bumping into people in the garage or whatever, they start out Trump, but the minute I talk to them, they go, "Oh, really? I didn't know Bernie Sanders was for that." They don't know. They haven't heard his speeches.
Yeah.
Tonight, Bernie embraced these Latin American guys. I don't know if you saw it just an hour ago. He was giving a speech. Would you see Clinton or Trump embracing immigrants on the stage with open arms? It's just. I mean, that depends. This guy, it has to be seen.
Yeah.
And nobody's seeing him.
Thanks so much for that call, man. I appreciate the input. And actually, no, I don't know if anyone's thought of that idea of fundraising for some cable access thing, but I think it's a great idea. In terms of the airtime and the coverage, I think you're spot on, right? I think that there has been a shortage of nowhere near, right? I think the media has come back and started to cover Bernie Sanders in a decent way, but nothing like we've ever seen before with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has gotten some hundreds of millions of dollars in free advertising because of the media. The media, he is a creation of the media. In every facet of the conversation, he is a creation of the media, from his media exploits on before running for office to the fascination, the perverted fascination that the media has with him since he's run for office. Also, the media's inability to critique him in a meaningful and substantive way that has also benefited him. So, in so many ways, he is. It's like a twisted version of 1984, if you can make it any more twisted, right? Because here is a candidate, Donald Trump, that is promising, right? He outlined what he's going to do in his first 100 days. And my bet, and maybe I shouldn't bet because I've been wrong before, but my bet was that he was going to move back to the center. But it appears as though he's going to stay hard right, and he's going to, in the first 100 days, he said he's going to build the wall, or he's going to design the wall, rather. In the first 100 days, he's going to look into banning the immigration from Muslims, and in the first 100 days, he's going to export all the illegal immigrants, and and this kind of, he's actually talking about doing this, and so now we have this type of draconian white nationalist caricature of a human being, the head of a national party, And part of the calculus that got him there is exactly what you're saying, is the fact that the media promoted him there because Donald Trump is great for ratings. And it's hard for them to walk away from these ratings. It's hard for them to walk away from these opportunities to get millions of views. But it's the thing that's feeding the demise, right? It's the thing that's feeding the demise of the media. Not just the American demise, but the media's demise. There's so many people who have lost credibility. And this actually goes for Hillary Clinton, too. This is another way that they have in common with Hillary Clinton, is that a lot of people have sacrificed their integrity, their journalistic integrity, in order to support and cover Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. So there is a need for more media. And yes, I absolutely could be making so much more money if I wasn't spending all of my nights doing this. But notwithstanding, thank you to everyone who does support the show. You too can support the Benjamin Dixon Show. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD Show. Thank you to those people who are supporting, because it's because of your support that we're able to bring these upgraded facilities and to do what we're doing. All right, let me shift gears here. Let me talk about the North Carolina law. And on your screen, you should see, before I talk about this law, and before I talk about how horrible the law is and how ridiculous the Republicans are who are pushing this, it would be wrong for me not to point out all of the Democrats who also support this. And 11 Democrats supported this HB2 out of North Carolina. The 5 that you see on your screen: Charles Graham, George Graham, Howard Hunter, William Richardson, Garland Pierce. The 5 of them are Hillary Clinton supporters. So we have 5 Hillary Clinton supporters, 11 Democrats who are supporting this North Carolina law that the Justice Department has now sent a letter to the state of North Carolina saying that it is clearly a discriminatory law. HB2 is a solution in search of a problem that simply doesn't exist, according to Mac McGeith. According to a letter sent to the state of North Carolina from Vanita Gupta, who is a top civil rights attorney, lawyer for the Justice Department, HB2, they have concluded that it is in violation of of Title VII. The state is engaged in a pattern of practice of resistance to the full enjoyment of Title VII rights by employees and or public agencies. This is what the letter said. So essentially, because they are now in violation of Title VII, the state of North Carolina is slated to lose hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding because they feel the need to discriminate against transgendered Americans who want to use restrooms according to the identity for which they identify, the gender for which they identify. So because of this commitment to discrimination, they've passed HB2, and now the Justice Department, they have notified the state of North Carolina that they are in violation. And because of this violation, they could potentially lose hundreds of, never mind all of the contracts and all of the business that they're losing. Now they're going to lose federal funding and for any number of programs. This reminds me of conversation. There's a debate that I had with a constitutional, quote unquote, constitutional conservative. And we were debating for about half an hour. The video is on YouTube. And part of that conversation was helping him to understand why the federal government has the right to require that states and schools and people in the public square not be discriminatory. Part of that calculus is because these states want to receive federal funding. So they are in line when it comes time for the government to hand out money. And the stipulations and one of the requirements for them to receive this federal funding is that they not discriminate. And so now everyone wants to talk about states' rights. Well, you know what? Maybe you can exercise your states' rights more freely if you just give up all the federal funding that you're in line for. But of course, they're not going to do that. Of course, they're going to. It's already lined up for people to challenge this law, not just because of the federal government threatening to pull federal funds, but also because of capitalism, right? Capitalism. They're telling all these corporations are telling them we're no longer going to do business in your state. So Governor Pat McCrory has started to make his move in opposition to this law. But before it's difficult for me to talk about this story and cast it in terms of Republicans doing something that's bigoted and discriminatory, because this legislation would not have passed if not for the Democrats who signed on to it. If not for the 11 Democrats who signed on for it, 5 of whom are Hillary Clinton supporters, not just supporters, but they have publicly endorsed Hillary Clinton. And so somebody earlier today, I read almost every tweet that gets sent to me. Most of the time I ignore all the trolls and I just laugh because it's funny. But one guy said something along the lines of, you need to grow up and unite blue. Please tell me, should we unite blue with Democrats who are helping Republicans to pass discriminating legislation? Is that who we should unite blue with? Because if we are supposed to just fall in line with anyone who is a Democrat with a D by their name, then what good does it make us to have any type of political ideology, any type of political values that we identify with when the people who have D's by their name a lot of times do things that are just as detrimental to their constituencies as any Republican would ever do. Long story short, why the hell should we unite blue with Democrats who are going to codify discrimination just for the sake of uniting blue? I'm sorry, this entire excuse of everyone trying to make us afraid of Republicans, of, everyone's running around with their hair on fire, like the world is, the sky is falling and the world is coming to an end because we have, the Republicans have nominated a white nationalist and everyone who wants us to be afraid. The problem is that Democrats are helping to pass some of the same legislation that you are complaining about. So if we actually united around values instead of around a color or around a party name, then we would be able to get rid of the people who are helping Republicans pass this repugnant and discriminatory legislation. So, yeah, let me put them back on the screen again. I want you to see these guys because they are the perfect example of why. This is the perfect example of why we should get away from this idea that everything is about uniting blue. Because here are 5 of 11 Democrats who have helped North Carolina to violate federal regulations and federal statutes, and now the state of North Carolina is in trouble not only with corporations around the country, but also with the federal government, and they have discriminated against Americans. But hey, unite blue. All right, I got some breaking news coming here. Happening now at the ELAC in response to Hillary Clinton's visit. There is a massive protest that's happening right now. I'm going to follow the links and find out some more information for you, and I'll bring you some updates about that. Apparently, there's a tremendous crowd that is growing outside of the facilities where Hillary Clinton is visiting, and there's a protest that's that's going down. Okay, let's talk about some other news. This is an amazing story out of, actually, let me put a pause there. I need to get this caller who has been so patient caller, I want to thank you for being patient and staying on the line. What is your name, comment, and/or question?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello?
Yes, this is you. You're live on the
Hi,
air.
Ben.
This is Ben.
Hi, Ben. This is Vita from Oakland, San Leandro, California. I just wanted to mention the mistake that us progressives make across the board is that we don't call out those organizations that are supporting, that's supposed to be about liberal, progressive ideas and policies. We need to start gathering a list of progressive organizations so we can put our funding together in order to get our issues out across the board, even since we don't have the mainstream media to put the information out there correctly, especially when it comes to like Hillary. We got her surrogates are all across the board on mainstream media. A lot of our people that are getting their information, they don't know about shows like yours, Majority Report, and other TYT and stuff like that. They don't know a lot about those type of podcasts and so forth. And a lot of us that have the finances and organizations, we don't gather together and have a straight message like the Republicans have. They have a communication strategy that sticks on point. And like we need to call out like Joy Reid and the rest of them and Chris Matthews. And I wish he would do something on Chris Matthews, because Chris Matthews' wife ran in Maryland, and some of her top donors, 12 donors, were the same as Hillary Clinton. And Chris Matthews should have never been able to sit in that broadcast seat and interview anybody when it comes to about the political race, because that's showing that he does not have the bipartisanship to be a journalist to broadcast information when he's in the when his own wife it's not even disclosed. And people are letting him get by with that. And I think we should all call MSNBC, because it's been going on. Just look how he treated interviews with Nina Turner, Bernie Sanders, Jane. You know, just anybody that gets on there for he calls Bernie socialist. He makes up. He says things that are untrue, false information. You know. And he gets away with it. And
I agree with you. I agree with you on a lot of what you just said. I think it's very pertinent that particularly, you know, I don't want people to think I've thrown in the towel, but I also want people to realize we need a head start to oppose this type of propaganda, this type of media spin, this type of thing that has been done to progressives in this election cycle, right? In a lot of ways, I believe that we were blindsided. I believe that we were not quite prepared for what they were going to do and what they did. And I think that we have to realize that we need to start right now. We need to start right now for the rest of the future, right? We need to not just call them out for what they did last time, but we need to call them out in advance of what they're going to. We need a head start. We need a head start because we don't have control over the media. We don't have control over the media outlets. We don't own our own national cable network. We don't own nationally syndicated radio shows. We don't own newspapers across the country. All we have are our independent voices that we build and we invested our own personal time and money in. And because we are at a disadvantage in terms of our reach, we have to start now for 2020. 2018, yes, but really we have to be working right now for 2020. So I agree, and it starts by calling these people out. All right, I'm going to try to get George Garza on the line here for the interview. We want to talk about, excuse me, we're talking about the Left Forum that's coming up in New York, where I don't know if you know about or if you've ever been to or experienced the Left Forum. But he's joining me now. Let me see if I can get him on my screen. And George, how are you?
Hello, Benjamin. Fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining me today. First, tell us about the Left Forum and when it's coming up. Give us all the major points that everyone should know.
Yeah, well, this year the Left Forum is in its 12th year. It's the largest progressive conference of its kind in the United States and one of the largest in the world. It's being held in New York City at John Jay College in Manhattan. The Left Forum Conference came out of the Socialist Scholars Conference in the late 60s and emerged in later down into the 21st century in 2004 after a rift between the earlier organization and found a home at Cooper Union in New York City. And now it welcomes progressive organizations from throughout the world, including student groups, activists, academics, and the public.
Yeah.
This year's conference is centered around organization and looking for transformative justice.
Awesome.
This year's conference theme, yeah, you hear me?
Yeah. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Yeah. Well, first, give us the theme. What is the theme for this year?
This year's theme is Rage, Rebellion, or Revolution, Organizing Our Power, trying to encompass the wide spectrum of the left, seeing how first movements emerge out of rage, then take to the streets in rebellion, and eventually transform into revolutionary power.
Yeah. Okay. So for people who may never have attended, let's make it really simple. Why should people go to, besides the fact that I'll be there and there'll be plenty of other people there far more noteworthy than me. There's going to be a lot of conversations being had, a lot of panels. But could you just tell me in like really simple terms, why should people go to this event?
Sure. Well, this event is a great opportunity. It happens once every year, and it's a great convergence of progressive activists, leftists, and various different types of organizations coming together to dialogue, debate, and discuss various themes and issues that affect not only the left but our society in general, from politics, the economics, to race relations, to domestic and international issues alike. So this is a great opportunity to build networks, build strong connections, and get to see very powerful speakers and engaged attendees and organizers and bloggers and like yourself, who are going to come out and organize certain panels and give very powerful plenary speeches.
Okay, so there's 3 days of the event. It starts on Friday the 20th, Saturday the 21st, and Sunday the 22nd. There are panels, there are speeches. This is a great networking opportunity. This is a great place, a great catalyst for people who want to continue the revolution, who want to continue with progressivism from the left. This is a great place for them to not only go and network, but to get energized and to get mobilized. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, exactly. That's exactly it. And there's, we cover things from theory to praxis. So, emerging progressives and leftists who aren't too sure about the differences between socialism and communism to progressivism and other different types of movements that have influenced our current state, where we find ourselves right now, and in this era of contentious, political debates, can attend these panels and get a better assessment of where we are, where we've come from, and where we're heading.
Okay. All right. And I was blown away at the quality of speakers that you guys have had. I know you've had Cornel West in the past. I believe I saw Noam Chomsky's name on there from some years ago. Just a lot of great speakers. And then I'm even more impressed because it is not an expensive conference. I'm really pushing this, guys, because I'm going to be there speaking, and I want you guys to come see me on this panel. So tell everyone where they can find out information on how to register and how they can attend.
Yeah, and just to name off a few other attendees and speakers, we've had Angela Davis, Amy Goodman, David Harvey, and a vast amount of different speakers from different arenas in the American and international left. People that are interested in attending the conference can check out our website at leftforum.org. There you can get information on all the panels and the plenaries. as well as the conference rates. And like you said, it is very affordable. We offer different rates for different groups, such as students, group rates, low income, and people that want to attend either 1 day, 2 days, or the full 3 day conference.
George, man, thanks so much for joining me at this last second on this evening, late evening. Tell everyone how they can get up with you if they wanted to find out more information.
Yeah, so you can reach me at my Twitter handle. That's Amaru124, AMARU124, or at leftforum.org. Reach out to the office or email the conference, and I'll be one of the people that will be responding.
Hey, dude, thanks so much for joining me. We'll be reaching out to you, and let Mike know. We probably want to get somebody on next week as well, so we could talk about this a little bit more. So thanks for joining me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Benjamin, for having me on.
My pleasure. 857-600-0518. We'll be streaming, doing some live streaming from the Left Forum. That's going to be May 20th, 21st, and 22nd. My producer, one of my producers, David Grossman, he's going to be there. He's from New York, so he's going to drop in and be there as well. The Progressive Army is going to be represented, so we want to see you guys there. All right, let's talk about some other news. This one caught me off guard. This is a picture of, this is Captain Nathan Michael Smith. He's an intelligence officer stationed in Kuwait, who is suing President Obama over the legality of war versus ISIS. This gentleman has voiced his support for the effort against ISIS. He simply feels that it is his constitutional duty to remind the president or to point out that the president is utilizing, in his opinion, authorization that is not applicable to the current battle against ISIS. And he sounds like he's a one of the people who believes, how should I say this? Well, a constitutional conservative is what this reminds me of, and that's fine if that's what he believes. And so he believes that President Obama does not have the proper authorization to wage war. He wants to wage this war. He's actively serving. Right. This is not someone which blows me away, because I personally, and I don't know about you, maybe you knew, but I did not know that an officer or a soldier could sue the commander-in-chief, right? Could essentially sue the federal government. But there is I think the principle on which that they are carrying out this lawsuit is the principle that soldiers do not have to carry out duties or orders that are unconstitutional. And so Captain Nathan Michael Smith feels that this war is unconstitutional, and so he's bringing a lawsuit against President Obama. The core of the lawsuit is, again, that Obama does not have the proper authorization. He's still utilizing authorization that came right after September 11th, 2001. He's using the authorization. There's also a second authorization that President Obama could be using, which came in the use of the funding of the Iraq war. But President Obama is actually utilizing the authorization that George W. Bush got immediately after 9/11 to go after Al Qaeda. Here's the crux of the lawsuit in very simple terms. Essentially, they are saying that we are no longer fighting Al Qaeda. We're now fighting ISIS. And because we're no longer fighting Al Qaeda, this use of fourth authorization is no longer constitutional. It's no longer applicable to the current battle. And the response from the White House is that this is in fact constitutional. This use of force authorization that they received to fight Al Qaeda is still applicable because Al Qaeda in Iraq specifically is what splintered off into becoming ISIS in the first place. So this is a fascinating story. This is a fascinating news article, because in actuality, if you understand the origins of ISIS, President Obama, what he's saying is accurate. This is ISIS. This is Al Qaeda in Iraq in another form. And a lot of people, there's been a lot of debate about the origins of ISIS, but the origins of ISIS, they came out of Al Qaeda in Iraq. And so the question really is whether or not you agree with the war, right? Whether or not you agree what's going on, it doesn't really matter where you fall on this, in terms of the implications, would we have to stop fighting someone just because they rebranded? Because in a sense, according to what the New York Times and the Boston Globe reported, because that's my daily read, in a sense, that's the basis of this lawsuit. He's suing because this authorization was granted for Al Qaeda, but not ISIS. But Al Qaeda simply broke up and rebranded as ISIS. Al Qaeda in Iraq, more specifically, broke up and rebranded as ISIS. So are we simply supposed to say, oh, you guys have changed your name, you've changed your branding, we can't fight you anymore? There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's the core of it. He has, I have to give it to him, though. This is one of those other things that I want to just talk about from a pure political science perspective, because it is a great irony that a constitutional conservative is arguing something that could end up with a left-leaning result, which is withdrawal of all combat operations against ISIS, right? Most are some, not all, but some progressives, some on the left would rather see us not engage in any conflict. I'm not going to tell you where I fall. I was just getting ready to tell you where I fall. I'm not. It's not even worth it right now. But what's ironic and what has to be calculated and measured and studied is someone from the right arguing against someone who is supposed to be on the left, and the core essence of the results of this argument would be further left than the person who's supposed to be on the left. This soldier is arguing against Obama, essentially saying that we shouldn't be in this war because we're not authorized to be in this war. And I know you can always use whatever argument you want, right? So there's been plenty of conservatives who would argue against President Obama strictly because, simply because they want to oppose Obama no matter what. They would be willing to oppose President Obama. And this is the crux of it, right? It's the willingness to oppose President Obama or any progressive on every single thing they possibly can, even if that means them betraying something that's core to who they have become over the last 40 years, which is this brash neoconservative, militaristic, adventurism party, right? And so now that President Obama has owned this war because of their need for political opposition, they are now fighting against Obama, and the result would undermine their own war. Just like Obamacare, just like the Affordable Care Act. It's hilarious, right? They fought against President Obama on Obamacare when Obamacare was originally Romney Care, Nixon Care. It was a Republican idea. And so you have this realignment that's happening in so many different ways. We see it with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I do believe that Donald Trump is going to pivot left on some issues, further left than Hillary Clinton on some issues. So we see it on a national level, and then we also see it on this level with this officer who's suing President Obama. And again, this is just mixing in some of my desire to just look at it from a pure realignment perspective. I really, it's fascinating. I think it's crazy that, or not necessarily crazy, but it's crazy that I never knew that officers could actually, or soldiers could actually sue the federal government. And in my research, they could sue them for a lot of things, but one of the things they cannot sue them for is personal injury. I guess that makes sense when you think about it. 857-600-0518. I'm going over to a little overtime today, ladies and gentlemen, so we can keep talking about the news. So circling back to Donald Trump, where do I start with this guy? Let's start here. Actually, no, there's another story that I have to hit, but let me just talk about this since it's on your screen. Donald Trump tweeted this out today. Now, I refuse to be one of those people who run around with my hair on fire saying, "Oh my God, Donald Trump is a racist. He's part of the Klan." But Donald Trump is a dumbass. And I'll say that now, so even when he becomes president, it's on record. Look at this tweet. Happy Cinco de Mayo. The best taco bowls are made in the Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics. This is the front runner. This is the prohibitive nominee of the Republican Party. I love Hispanics. So, you know, what else is there to say about that other than Donald Trump is an idiot? Of course, everyone is lifting up and saying Donald Trump is a racist. I think more than just a racist, Donald Trump is a dummy. And not a dummy in the sense that you should underestimate him. Not someone that you could just brush aside and say, you know, he's no threat, because he is a very big threat. And if we underestimate him and run somebody against him who is not the strongest candidate, then we could be faced with a President Donald Trump and 4 years of him tweeting out of the Oval Office national security secrets. All right, so let's take 5 right here. And by 5, I probably mean 5 seconds. I want to thank Niz and Richard for their show today. It was a phenomenal show. I'm sorry. I was reading a message here about Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Someone has tweeted today, earlier today, that he likes taco bowls because it's the only type of Mexican food that has a wall. I need my punchline button. Okay, so thanks to Richard Green and Niz Peterson for their show today. I have everything but my applause track, but you guys, I got a chance to listen to your interview with Penny Baker. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names, but great show. Love what you guys are doing. It's back on Thursdays at 7 p.m. And also big shouts to my sister, Noah Changa. She's doing her thing on Tuesday nights. Nick Nolan, haven't forgotten about you. He's going to be joining me next week. Here now that I have things working. So big shouts out to everyone working with the Progressive Army. You could become a part of the Progressive Army. Go to progressivearmy.com, sign up. We'll be in touch and see how you can help us build this progressive movement that will exist and continue to grow after this election. No matter who wins this election, whether we have President Bernie Sanders or, God forbid, President Hillary, or, God forbid, President Donald Trump, the progressive movement will still move on. And you can be a part of it. Also, another chance to tell you to support the Benjamin Dixon Show. I love doing what I do. I appreciate the support that I do get from, there's about 63 patrons that really make this possible. And without them, we couldn't do what we're doing right now. Absolutely. I'd still be at home with my studio phone behind me. So thanks to all the patrons. You should also support in your own way. If you can't give but $1 a month, go give $1 a month. At least buy me a coffee, like buy me a little cheap $3 coffee. And if you really like me, buy me a scotch a month. One scotch a month, $10 a month. Become a patron. Those are Boston prices. Become a patron at patreon.com/the BPD show. As you can tell, it took me about 3 days to get my my sea legs under me and get the lay of the land. So I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable in our new digs. I'm feeling like I'm getting my my political swagger back. And so we're going to cover about 2 more stories, and I'll be glad to take some more calls. 857-600-0518. Let me talk about the protest that is going on right now with against Hillary Clinton. So there was a word put out yesterday on a Facebook group asking Hispanics to organize and protest Hillary Clinton in East LA in support and solidarity for Berta Cáceres against Hillary. And this is speaking of the Honduras coup. And it has been growing, and it is a major protest happening now in conjunction with Cinco de Mayo. Here's a quote. They call on the LA community to join us this Thursday to tell Hillary that she is not welcome in LA. Organizers called Clinton an enemy of the working class. They also argued that her Central American policies as Secretary of State caused death, destruction, and deportation per LA Weekly. So this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier with the protests that are gathering Hillary out of East LA is the chant. Hillary out of East LA. That's a chant that's going on. LA, they are trying. It's one of those things. It's happening now as we speak. So we have to keep getting information for you, and we'll have some pictures included in the shortened video on tomorrow. Also, thank you. There's a major event happening for the Progressive Army on tomorrow night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. We have Alex Singer. We have Christy Matthews, not related to Chris Matthews. Athena Salam, Bianca Pecco, and please forgive me if I pronounce that wrong, and Peter Jacob. They are coming to the Progressive Army tomorrow on this channel to have a panel that will be hosted by our very own Anoa Changa. They're talking about the future of progressive politics, progressive leaders, future progressive leaders. These are all candidates and leaders in their respective rights. And so they'll be joining Anoa Changa of the Progressive Army tomorrow night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll be watching. I won't be interfering. I'll let them do their thing, but I'll be definitely watching and in the chat room. And we want you there watching and in the chat room as well. Okay. Now that all the okay, so Hillary Clinton's rally was was Cinco de Mayo focus. It's So let me use that. Thank you for that note, Dr. Hyde. Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde. Let me use that to pivot here. So, and I'll bring this back on the screen about Donald Trump. So this is a tweet from Donald Trump. Again, we've talked about it, but I'm putting it on the screen again because this is what's being spread around as an example of Donald Trump's racism. Now, granted, I think Donald Trump fosters and invites all of the racists in America. You know, the Klan supports him. The neo-Nazis support him. He gets all of the support of the racists in America. But when you think about his policies and the things that he talks about doing, he'll never get them done, ever. He's not going to deport. They're going to try. He would never get that passed. It's not like all of a sudden he's going to become king dictator that has full control and there's no checks and balances. It's not like the Supreme Court is going to go away. It's not like the Congress is going to go away. It's not like all of a sudden all the Republicans and all the Democrats are going to fall in line with a guy who wants to deport 11 million illegal immigrants, right? So, you know, but when he does things like this and he sends out tweets like this and he tweets out these images that are put together by racists, like genuine people who genuinely just hate you because of your skin color, then it becomes easy fodder and it opens the door for people like Hillary Clinton to sail in on the ease of his bigotry, on the sails of his bigotry and his hatred and his racism, without anyone holding Hillary Clinton accountable for her policies that have been detrimental to people of color. And it becomes a competition between someone who is a loudmouth racist in the people who support him and the things that he says, and a person who has policies and has historically had policies that have been detrimental to communities of color. Let me give you Donald Sterling, for example. The world didn't come down on the former owner of the LA Clippers because of the real things that he did that was racist, like housing discrimination lawsuits that he had. He still owned the Clippers. He still had everything. Nobody even knew who he was. Nobody jumped on him because of the actual things that physically hurt people because of his racism. But they waited until they got some audio of him. And then all of a sudden, because he said he didn't want black people at his games, that became the crown jewel of what people used to say Donald Sterling was a racist. No, Donald Sterling was a racist years before he said that he didn't want black people at his games. And so what we've done in America is we prioritize verbal racism over legislative racism or policy racism or true discrimination, right? We prioritize someone saying the N-word over someone lobbying for the most nefarious portions of the 94 crime bill. Or even more accurate, we prioritize someone using the term ghetto and we label that as the most racist thing versus someone who talks down to and dismisses and completely ignores and does the very exact thing that you complain about. She does it against Black Lives Matter activists. And so we have our priorities mixed up, right? Yes, I think Donald Trump is a racist. But I also think the policies that he wants to employ are things that can never be employed in the Union. They can't be accomplished. They won't be done. Yes, we'll have a hell of a time of him trying to do it. And I'm not advocating for him to become president by any means, but I need us to refocus our thinking, because right now everyone is running around with like chickens without a head. Like the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Donald Trump is a racist. Oh my God, Donald Trump is a racist. The world is coming to an end. Meanwhile, we're giving Hillary Clinton a free ride into the White House. She doesn't, she started already, and now they're not even trying to acknowledge that she's still in a competition with Bernie Sanders. And no one's going to challenge her on her foreign policies that are detrimental to brown people across the world, people of color across the world. No one's going to challenge her on her economic policies that overwhelmingly hurt African Americans. 28% of African Americans living in poverty right now today. Nobody is going to challenge her on that, because we should be quiet and be afraid of Donald Trump. Sorry. I am not so terrified of Donald Trump that I am going to start ignoring the problems with Hillary Clinton. I would absolutely love to see the GOP gutted and eviscerated and out of power. But what good would that do if we're replacing them with Democrats who are just as bad on economic policies, just as bad, relatively bad as on their foreign policies? And what, they're Democrats because, they're progressive, because they're progressive on social values. But I just gave you a list of 11 people, 5 who support and endorse Hillary Clinton, who are not even progressive on social issues. So what good would it be for us to even capitalize on this moment if we're going to replace the Republican Party with a Democratic Party who's exactly the same as the Republican Party with maybe 6 degrees of separation, if that? And that's what's happening with this. Oh my God, Donald Trump is a racist. Yes, he's a racist. Now what? What policies are you more concerned with what he says than what policies Hillary Clinton will enact that will be more detrimental to you than what Donald Trump could ever say? That's the question. I'm not concerned about what's the saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. You know, as simplistic and childish and fatuous as that is, you know, policies have the ability to gut our communities even further. You know, NAFTA, when it came through and gutted our factories and our warehouses and our industries, that disproportionately hurt African Americans. But we're sitting back here carrying the heir apparent of NAFTA and TPP on the wings of Donald Trump's racism. We're ushering her into the White House because he makes tweets like these and because his followers are rabid, racist ass trolls. All right, first time viewer question. Big John 0513. This is my first time watching the show. How do you feel about the two third parties? I personally hope Bernie loses the Democratic primary so that he can run with Jill Stein and the Green Party. I'm only one condition. Only one condition would I ever champion a split in the Democratic Party for a third party. That's if there is a fourth party. If there is a fourth party run, if conservatives and GOP establishment members are so upset with Donald Trump that they find a fourth party candidate, then I say let's get it done. Let's do it. Let's have a four-party race. Let's have a flashpoint in American history where we did something positive, right? Having four candidates on a stage debating so that people can align more with their political, economic, and foreign policy and social ideologies versus being lumped into these big tents that don't fully represent us. I'm all for a four-party race. That would be something great for American democracy. It won't be great for the Democratic Party. It won't be great for the Republican Party, but it would be great for American democracy. I am 100% for that. I wish that would happen, but I will not support a third-party split on the left side, because that honestly in history has only benefited the opposition. Ross Perot split in 1992. He helped split the Republican Party, which gave them Bill Clinton. Likewise, in actually, well, we don't really have another example that's solid from the left, right? People try to blame Ralph Nader on 2000, but Ralph Nader, it wasn't his fault in 2000. It was the number of Bush Democrats, a number of Democrats who left the Democratic Party to support George Bush. That's how George Bush became president of the United States in 2000. But a third party run on the Democratic side, on the left side, without a fourth party, would just hand the White House to Donald Trump. And you just have to make the decision. You know, that's up to you guys who you think is worse. Ted Cruz is gone, so I'm a happy man. Ted Cruz is gone, so I am good. Let's see. I don't know. I think I've talked about enough. I was going to talk about Paul Ryan. I don't think that matters so much. I was prepared to talk about Paul Ryan. Maybe I should talk about Paul Ryan since I have his image here. So Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, has come out and said that I cannot support Trump, or more precisely, quote, I'm just not ready to support Trump. He later said that he hopes that he can. He hopes that he can fall in line and that there's some unity, some unification that takes place. But he's said that the responsibility is on Trump. And this is true, right? The responsibility is on Trump to unify that party. And Paul Ryan, Democrats are really laughing at it, saying that this is awkward, that the Republican Party has nominated someone that their own speaker, the highest ranking member of their party right now, cannot support and endorse at this time. You also have John McCain out of Arizona, who also said that he doesn't know if he can support Donald Trump, particularly because he said, quote, if Donald Trump is at the top of the ticket here in Arizona, where over 30% of the vote is the Hispanic vote, no doubt this would be the race of my life. So John McCain is afraid that he would lose his position because Donald Trump would chase away the Hispanic vote. So this is what I'm saying, folks. This is a great opportunity to completely gut the GOP. But why do it if we're going to just replace them with people who are pretty much Republican on economic policies? When this is open season, we could actually get what we could replace Congress, we could replace the Senate and the House, we could have replacements on the state and local level, we could have all the reins of power and actually implement progressive ideas. But instead, we don't want progressive ideas, we want Hillary Clinton. All right, so another Republican, national Republican who, well, on the national stage, my former governor, Rick Scott. Rick Scott has come out to support, we call him Skeletor. If you're from Florida, you know him as Skeletor. There on the right. He has come out in support of Donald Trump, along with Reince Priebus. This is the most interesting thing of the day is Reince Priebus has told the RNC staff, allegedly it was Reince Priebus, but it was told to the staff of the Republican National Committee that if they cannot fall in line and support Donald Trump, then they should leave and they should be gone by the end of the week. This is the crackdown happening on the Republican Party side. You have some of the senior leadership not able to support Donald Trump. You have other members of the establishment trying to unify in order to keep Hillary Clinton out of power. You have some people who said they would never support Trump, so they were willing to support Hillary Clinton. And here we are, feckless progressive liberals and Democrats and people on the left, not able to seize the day and champion progressivism like never before because we're still trying to decide whether or not Hillary Clinton is a progressive. I've done my job. Just reading these notes here about the protest that's going on with Hillary Clinton. The event has ended and the protest finished off a few minutes ago, and they're now having food vendors do some things. All right, folks, it's been a pleasure. We stayed over a little bit of time. I wanted to make sure that we got a chance to do it right? So we'll be back on Monday, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Make sure you share the video. Make sure you like. Make sure that if you really like what we do, go to patreon.com/the BPD show, become a supporter. And if you can't support financially, just share our content. Go subscribe to our blog and share our content. This has been the Benjamin Dixon Show, and I am out.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.